Namaskar. A warm welcome to World News, and Indian perspective on All India Radio. This is Navneet Singh, and with me is Renuka, bringing glimpses of the major developments of the day from across the globe. Over the next half an hour, we shall bring you the latest from the world of politics, economy, sports, entertainment, and more. The headlines. External Affairs Minister S. Jaishankar meets his Egyptian counterpart Sameh Shoukry in Cairo to discuss regional developments including Indo-Pacific. Russian President Vladimir Putin says there is no need for massive strikes against Ukraine for now. ISRO to launch 36 satellites of UK's global communication network OneWeb on 23rd of this month. UN Security Council Counter-Terrorism Committee special meeting in India to focus on the use of drones and other emerging technology in terror activities. US President Joe Biden describes Pakistan as one of the most dangerous nations as it holds nuclear weapons without any cohesion. India win Women's Asia Cup 2022 after defeating Sri Lanka by 8 wickets. Issf World Championship in Cairo, Egypt. External Affairs Minister S. Jaishankar met his Egyptian counterpart Sameh Shoukry in Cairo on Saturday, and the two leaders discussed regional developments and exchanged views on the Ukraine conflict and the Indo-Pacific. Jaishankar is in Egypt on a 2-day visit at the invitation of his Egyptian counterpart Shoukry. In a tweet, Mr. Jaishankar said, "A warm and productive meeting with FM Sameh Shoukry of Egypt, which reflected our deep-rooted ties as we mark 75 years of diplomatic relations this year." Jaishankar said India and Egypt's cooperation in multilateral forums remained robust and welcomed Egyptian participation in G20 next year and in BRICS New Development Bank and the Shanghai Cooperation Organization SCO. In another tweet, the minister said that as states active in shaping global debates, discuss developments in our regions, and exchange views on Ukraine conflict and Indo-Pacific, a polarized world needs independent thinking and voice of reason. He added that India will explore opportunities in new and renewable energy, trade and investment, education, tourism, and connectivity. Earlier in the day, Jaishankar paid homage to Mahatma Gandhi at the famous Al Horeya Park in the Egyptian capital. Gandhi's bust was unveiled at the park in 2019 to mark his 150th birth anniversary. India's exports to Egypt during this period amounted to $3.74 billion, registering a 65% increase over the same period in financial year 2020-21. Russian President Vladimir Putin said that India always speaks about the necessity to establish a dialogue and resolve things peacefully, and Russia knows India's position and concerns regarding the Ukraine conflict. He was addressing a news conference in the Kazakh capital, Astana, yesterday. Putin's statement comes after a month when Prime Minister Narendra Modi advised him that today's era is not of war, during a meeting that occurred on the sidelines of the SCO summit in Uzbekistan. Prime Minister Modi had also called for early cessation of hostilities at a bilateral meeting with Putin and emphasized the need to find ways to address the problems of food, fuel, security, and fertilizers. Russian President further said that there is no need for massive strike against Ukraine for now and added that they have acted correctly against Kyiv. His statement comes days after Russia launched several missiles at Kyiv and several other Ukrainian cities post-Crimea bridge attack. Earlier, Putin had warned that he would use nuclear weapons to defend Russian territory after annexing 4 regions of Ukraine last month. Mr. Putin also promised to end a divisive mobilization that has seen hundreds of thousands of men summoned to fight in Ukraine and huge numbers flee the country.
The United States has announced an additional $725 billion for military assistance to Ukraine. Amid the ensuing battle between Russia and Ukraine post-Crimea bridge bombings, the U.S. on Friday announced 23rd drawdown of U.S. arms and equipment for Ukraine since August 2021. This drawdown includes additional arms, munitions, and equipment from U.S. Department of Defense inventories. In a statement, U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken said this additional aid will bring the total U.S. military assistance for Ukraine to an unprecedented more than $18.3 billion since the beginning of the Biden administration. He further stated that the U.S. will continue to stand with the people of Ukraine and that the capabilities being delivered are carefully calibrated to make the most difference on the battlefield for Ukraine. Meanwhile, addressing a news conference in Kazakhstan's capital Astana on Friday, Russian President Vladimir Putin said that any direct contact or direct clash of NATO troops with the Russian army would lead to a global catastrophe. The Indian Space Research Organisation ISRO will launch 36 satellites of UK's global communication networks OneWeb on 23rd of this month. The launch of satellites is scheduled for 12:07 a.m. on October the 23rd. The commercial launch on board the GSLV Mk3, India's heaviest satellite, is being facilitated by Space PSU New Space India Limited (NSIL). The NSIL has signed 2 launch service contracts with OneWeb for launching the firm's LEO (Low Earth Orbit) broadband communication satellites on board the GSLV Mk3. The Space PSU has at least 6 commercial missions planned in the next few months.
United Nations Security Council UNSC Counter-Terrorism Committee special meeting in India will focus on unmanned aerial vehicles, UAVs, and other emerging technologies. For the first time in the last 7 years, the UNSC Counter-Terrorism Committee has planned to hold a special meeting away from its headquarters. The meeting will be held in Mumbai and New Delhi on October 28th and 29th with a focus on the use of new and emerging technologies for terrorism purposes. In a statement, UN said the objectives of the meeting are to provide an overview of ways being adopted by the member states. The member states are deploying new and emerging technological developments to prevent and counter terrorist narratives and acts and to bring terrorists to justice. Other objectives include identifying continuing challenges, sharing good practices in compliance with international human rights laws, industry action, public-private partnerships, and legislative policy and regulatory responses, the UN said. India's forex reserves rose by $204 million to $532.86 billion for the week ended October 7 on an increase in the value of gold holdings. Reserve Bank said that in the previous reporting week, the overall reserves had dropped by $4.85 billion to $532.66 billion.
India has rejected the Global Hunger Index Report 2022, ranking India at 107 among 121 countries. In a statement, the Ministry of Women and Child Development said consistent effort is yet again visible to taint India's image as a nation that does not fulfill the food security and nutritional requirements of its population. The ministry said that the index is an erroneous measure of hunger and suffers from serious methodological issues. It said the report is not only disconnected from ground reality, but also chooses to deliberately ignore efforts made by the government to ensure food security for the population, especially during the COVID pandemic. Commerce and Industry Minister Piyush Goyal has stressed that consistent efforts must be done to bring India among the top 10 countries in the Global Innovation Index. While addressing the National IP Conference and Awards function in New Delhi on Saturday, the minister said India has jumped to the 40th rank in the Global Innovation Index from 81st rank in 7 years. Highlighting the importance of innovation, he said innovation helps to do things efficiently and in a cost-effective manner. He said high level of transparency, integrity, efficiency and speed will be the defining feature of country's innovation ecosystem in the coming years. In today's Hotspot section, we bring you news commentary on IMF applauds India's Direct Benefit Transfer Scheme, DBT.
India is today leading the world in digital payments and also becoming a preeminent country in the use of technology to improve citizens' lives and governance. The Indian government's various digital solutions are now attracting international attention. One such recent example is International Monetary Fund's appreciation for India's DBT direct benefit transfer schemes. The International Monetary Fund (IMF) has lauded India's deployment of a direct cash transfer scheme and other similar social welfare programs as a logistical marvel, saying there is a lot to learn from India, which is one of the most inspiring examples of the application of technology to solve complicated issues. The aim of direct benefit transfer is to transfer the benefits and subsidies of various social welfare schemes directly in the bank account of the beneficiary on time by bringing efficiency, effectiveness, transparency, and also to eliminate the intermediary body. According to the Indian government data, more than 24.8 lakh crore rupees has been transferred through direct benefit transfer mode since 2013 and 6.3 lakh crore rupees in the financial year 2021-2022 alone. Government processed more than 90 lakh direct benefit transfer payments on an average per day in the financial year 2021-22, which shows the successful implementation of direct benefit transfer scheme in India. Direct benefit transfer DBT mission was initially introduced with the support of the Planning Commission, now Niti Aayog, which acted as a nodal point for the implementation of the direct benefit transfer programs. The mission was later transferred to the Department of Expenditure, and to give more impetus, direct benefit transfer mission and matters related thereto has been placed in Cabinet Secretariat from 2015. The first phase of direct benefit transfer was initiated in 43 districts, and later on 78 more districts were added in 27 schemes pertaining to scholarships, women, child and labour welfare. This scheme was further expanded across the country on 12th December 2014 when 7 new scholarship schemes and Mahatma Gandhi National Rural Employment Guarantee Act (MG Narega) was brought under direct benefit transfer in 300 identified districts with higher Aadhaar enrollment, in addition to which the electronic payment framework was laid down in 2015. Currently, this framework is followed by all ministries and departments and is applicable on all central sector and centrally sponsored schemes, CSS, and all schemes where components of cash are transferred to individual beneficiaries. At present, more than 300 central sector CS and centrally sponsored schemes CSS from 53 ministries have been onboarded on the DBT Bharat portal to ensure accurate targeting of the beneficiaries. Aadhaar is not mandatory in direct benefit transfer schemes. Since Aadhaar provides unique identity and is useful in targeting the intended beneficiaries, Aadhaar is preferred and beneficiaries are encouraged to have Aadhaar. Through the combination of Jan Dhan bank accounts and mobile phones and the establishment of a digital identity through Aadhaar, the poor can now receive benefits directly into their bank accounts. JAM Trinity, that is Jan Dhan, Aadhaar and mobile, are direct benefit transfer enablers. Until now, more than 22 crore Jan Dhan account, more than 100 crore Aadhaar and about 100 crore mobile connections provide a unique opportunity to implement direct benefit transfer in all welfare schemes. JAM Trinity delivered welfare benefits to 800 million people seamlessly during COVID pandemic. DBT has brought in efficiency, effectiveness, transparency and accountability in the government system and has infused confidence of citizen in the governance. The DBT is a top priority and focus area of the government. Now, the International Monetary Fund (IMF) too has praised India's DBT scheme. IMF Managing Director Kristalina Georgieva said, "India deserves to be called a bright spot on the otherwise dark horizon because it has been a fast-growing economy even during difficult times," and added India's growth is underpinned by structural reforms. On the same lines, IMF's Fiscal Affairs Department's Deputy Director Paolo Moro too has lauded India's digital cash transfer schemes to help people with low income levels as a logistical marvel. He said the various schemes and programs seeking to help people at low income levels reach hundreds of millions of Indians directly, safely and on time. He said other countries don't have bank mobile phone Aadhaar type linkage to transfer money to people. He added in India's case the use of the unique identification system, the Aadhaar linked with mobile and bank accounts in identifying beneficiaries for the implementation of social programs is striking. The IMF appreciation shows that the success story of India in creation of digital assets like DBT, JAM Trinity, NPCI can be an example for not only developing countries but also for developed countries.
The 20th National Congress of the Communist Party of China (CPC) will open on Sunday at the Great Hall of the People in Beijing and conclude on October 22nd, lasting 7 days. The Party Congress of China's Communist Party is held every 5 years, where party delegates decide future policies, any amendments in the party constitution, and announce new leadership roles. 2,296 delegates from across the country have gathered in the capital Beijing to participate in the 20th Party Congress. To get more information on this, we are joined by our special correspondent in Beijing. Please tell us what is going to happen tomorrow when China's ruling party meets for its 20th Party Congress in Beijing. How will be the entire process of selecting a new leadership in China?
National Congress of the Chinese Communist Party is the topmost party congregation which decides the succession in China's elite politics. In recent years, these meetings have seen a streamlined transfer of power. The convention is for the top party leader having completed 2 5-year terms to pass the baton to a carefully chosen successor. But this year, President Xi Jinping is expected to break that precedent, taking on a third term as General Secretary of the party and further consolidating his power, leaving it uncertain when or how the country would see his successor. At the opening session of the Party Congress on Sunday, President Xi will submit the work report of last 5 years to the delegates of 20th Congress. On Monday, the first plenary session of the 20th Congress will be held and leadership roles will be announced, which includes the position of Party General Secretary, which President Xi is likely to continue to hold. More than 300 members of the Party Central Committee, 25 members of the Politburo, and 7 members of the Politburo Standing Committee, which is the topmost decision-making body in China. Leadership roles in the government, which includes Premier, the Prime Minister, and other ministers, will be finalized by the next March when China holds its annual parliamentary session.
There has been a lot of attention towards news coming from Beijing in the run-up to the 20th Party Congress. How do you see it?
One of the most recent and prominent news was about rare protest banners emerging on an over-Beijing capital, Beijing, against President Xi and his rigid zero-COVID policy of widespread restrictions and lockdowns, resulting in the slowdown of the world's second-largest economy. Following this incident, security, which is already tight in Beijing, has been further beefed up with reports that some of the areas in the city have been virtually shut down and police were deployed on numerous overpasses. Apart from this, there have been a lot of attention towards China's policies in the changing geopolitical and geoeconomic landscape, in particular US-China relations, which is also resulting from President Xi Jinping's rule in last 10 years. And since everything in China hinges around Communist Party, the 20th Party Congress is among the most consequential and closely watched party meetings in decades and will reveal much about the direction of the world's second largest economy for the next 5 years.
Thank you, Anshuman, for the details. This is All India Radio giving you the news. For quick news updates round the clock, follow us on Twitter at AIR News Alerts.
US President Joe Biden has described Pakistan as one of the most dangerous nations in the world, which holds nuclear weapons without any cohesion. The US President made these remarks at a Democratic Congressional Campaign Committee reception in Los Angeles, California on Friday. The remarks on Pakistan were made while Biden was talking about US foreign policy with regard to China and Russia. Mr. Biden concluded by saying that he considered Pakistan to be the most dangerous country in the world. His remarks could be seen as a setback to the Shehbaz Sharif government's bid to improve ties with the US. At the event, the US President also said that there were enormous opportunities for the US to change the dynamic in the second quarter of the 21st century. These comments come 2 days after the release of the U.S. National Security Strategy, which made no reference to Pakistan. U.S. Congressman Steve Chabot, along with Congressman of Indian origin Ro Khanna, introduced legislation in the U.S. House of Representatives to declare Pakistan Army action against Bengalis and Hindus in 1971 during the Liberation War of Bangladesh as genocide and crime against humanity. Chabot said that they must not let the years erase the memory of the massacred millions, and recognizing the genocide would strengthen their historical record and educate fellow Americans. He further said that would-be perpetrators must know that such crimes will not be tolerated or forgotten. while Congressman Ro Khanna said he is proud to join Rep. Steve Chabot in introducing the first resolution commemorating the 1971 Bengali genocide, in which millions of ethnic Bengalis and Hindus were killed or displaced in one of the most forgotten genocides of our time.
In Pakistan, a former High Court Chief Justice of Balochistan province was shot dead outside a mosque on Friday. Police personnel said assailants opened fire at Muhammad Noor Maskanzai outside the mosque in the Kharan area, which left him gravely injured. The former Chief Justice was taken to a nearby hospital where he died of his injuries. Maskanzai authored the landmark judgment that declared the riba-based banking system against the Sharia. This comes amid the deteriorating security situation in the country. Earlier this month, Pakistan's State Minister for Law, Shahadat Hussain, conceded that terror activities had witnessed a sharp increase. The highest number of terror incidents in Pakistan this year was recorded in September. 2 U.S. congressmen have introduced a resolution in the House of Representatives to declare Pakistan Army atrocities committed during the 1971 Liberation War of Bangladesh as act of genocide and crime against humanity. The resolution placed by Congressmen Steve Chabot and Ro Khanna condemns the atrocities committed by Pakistan Army between March to December 1971 against ethnic Bengalis and Hindus and death and suffering of countless people. It demands the President of the U.S. to recognize the atrocities of Pakistan Army as crimes against humanity, war crimes and genocide. Recalling the well-documented anti-Bengali sentiment of the then West Pakistani officials, the resolution traces the historical development of that period with the victory of Awami League in the general election of 1970 led by Sheikh Mujibur Rahman. The resolution recalls the comment of General Yahya Khan in a meeting on February 22, 1971, asking his top military brass to kill 3 million of the then East Pakistanis.
Prime Minister Narendra Modi has said that alternative dispute resolution mechanism needs to be encouraged at local level in states to ensure the speedy justice to the people. He also lauded the role of Lok Adalats in speedy disposal of cases. In his address at the inaugural session of All India Conference of Law Ministers and Law Secretaries at Ekta Nagar in Kevadia, Gujarat, through video message, Mr. Modi said that state must review the existing laws and modify or repeal the old and irrelevant laws as per the current need. The Prime Minister said that India can progress in true sense only if the regressing colonial laws are removed. He also mentioned that the central government has removed 32,000 compliances in the last 8 years to improve ease of living. Union Minister of Law and Justice Kiren Rijiju stressed on the coordination between judiciary and execution to minimize the delay in justice delivery. The 2-day conference has been organized by the Ministry of Law and Justice. The death toll from a coal mine explosion in northern Turkey rose to at least 40 people on Saturday. The explosion occurred on Friday evening when at least 110 miners working in the shaft. Interior Minister Suleiman Soylu said on Saturday that 40 miners were confirmed dead. 11 were injured and hospitalized, while 58 others managed to get out of the mine on their own or were rescued unharmed. The status of one remaining miner was unclear. Meanwhile, Energy Minister Fatih Donmez said rescue efforts were almost complete. Earlier, Donmez had informed that a fire was still burning in the mine's gallery, where more than a dozen miners had been trapped. Work to isolate and cool the fire continued. Preliminary assessments indicated that the explosion was likely caused by fire damp, which is a reference to flammable gases found in coal mines, Donmez added. Ambulances were on standby at the site. Rescue teams were dispatched to the area, including from neighboring provinces, Turkey's Disaster Management Agency, AFAD said.
India has maintained that bilateral ties cannot return to normalcy without peace on the boundary. Full disengagement will have to be followed by de-escalation and de-induction of troops from both sides still deployed in forward areas. A statement from the Ministry of External Affairs (MEA) said that India and China reviewed the situation at the Line of Actual Control (LAC) and welcomed the latest disengagement at patrolling point 15 in the Gogra Hot Springs area at the 25th meeting of the Working Mechanism for Consultation and Coordination on India-China Border Affairs WMCC held virtually on Friday. The MEA said both sides agreed to continue discussions through diplomatic and military channels to resolve the remaining issues along the LAC at the earliest, so as to create conditions for restoration of normalcy in bilateral relations. To achieve that objective, they agreed to hold the 17th round of talks between senior military commanders at an early date. India have won the Women's Asia Cup 2022 after defeating Sri Lanka in the final by 8 wickets at Sylhet International Cricket Stadium, Bangladesh on Saturday. The women in blue have defeated the Lankan for the 5th time in an Asia Cup final. This is India's record 7th Women's Asia Cup title. It turned out to be an easy chase as Smriti Mandhana led the innings with half-century, scoring an unbeaten 51 off 25 balls. Skipper Harmanpreet Kaur also contributed with 11 not out as India won the game with 69 balls to spare.
In Issf World Championship, Indian shooter Bronx balasaheb Patel won gold medal in men's 10-meter air rifle event in Cairo, Egypt on Friday. With this win, he also secured a 2024 Paris Olympics quota for the country. October the 15th is marked as Global Hand Washing Day with the aim of increasing awareness and understanding about the importance of hand washing with soap as an effective and affordable way to prevent diseases and save lives. The world has leveraged the lessons from the last 2 years since the coronavirus outbreak took a toll on everyone. As the world moves beyond COVID-19 to a new normal, it is time to accelerate hand hygiene progress to prevent any kind of infection, and it requires a collective effort to enact real change.
International Day of Rural Women is celebrated on 15th October every year. The day is dedicated to millions of women who live in remote rural areas. It is to celebrate and highlight their achievements and contributions towards rural development and agriculture.
Now let us take a look at the major developments around the world as reported in the foreign press. The Washington Post reports we visited Studio Ghibli's long-awaited theme park. It's a sensory delight. The Guardian writes the UK's lost leadership role hurts Somalia's fight against famine, says drought envoy. The Globe and Mail writes death toll rises to 28 in Turkey and coal mine explosion. South China Morning Post report says new UK Finance Minister warns of higher taxes in sign of latest policy U-turn by PM Liz Truss. The Financial Times writes Pentagon in talks to fund Ukrainian troop access to Musk's Starlink. The Wall Street Journal reports Chinese internet users lose access to WeChat app after Beijing protest.
A quick look at the headlines once again. External Affairs Minister S. Jaishankar meets his Egyptian counterpart Sameh Shoukry in Cairo to discuss regional developments including Indo-Pacific. Russian President Vladimir Putin says there is no need for massive strikes against Ukraine for now. ISRO to launch 36 satellites of UK's global communications network OneWeb on 23rd of this month. UN Security Council Counter-Terrorism Committee special meeting in India to focus on the use of drones and other emerging technology in terror activities. US President Joe Biden describes Pakistan as one of the most dangerous nations as it holds nuclear weapons without any cohesion. India win Women's Asia Cup 2022 after defeating Sri Lanka by 8 wickets. Indian shooter Rudransh Patel bags gold medal at ISSF World Championship in Cairo, Egypt. And now, before we end, let us listen to Mahatma Gandhi's favorite bhajan Vaishnav Jan by artist from Cambodia. And with that, we end this bulletin. We will be back at the same time tomorrow with the next edition of World News.